Last time we spoke about the kingdom of God, also known as the kingdom of heaven and the kingdom of Jesus. Now, although it would be nice to know the particulars of what the kingdom of God is like, we don't really need to know these things. But what we really do need to know is, how are we going to get there in the first place? Hello, I'm Kathy Bartow. In the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus tells us three parables about his kingdom. The parable of the sower, the parable of the weeds, and the parable of the mustard seed. The parable of the sower. Listen as I read Jesus' words in Matthew chapter 13, verses 3 through 9. That same day, Jesus went out of the house and sat by the lake. Such large crowds gathered around him that he got into a boat and sat in it, while all the people stood on the shore. Then he told them many things in parables, saying, a farmer went out to sow his seed. As he was scattering the seed, some fell along a path, and the birds came and ate it up. Some fell on rocky places where it did not have much soil. It sprang up quickly because the soil was shallow. But when the sun came up, the plants were scorched, and they withered because they had no root. Other seed fell among thorns, which grew up and choked the plants. Still other seed fell on good soil, where it produced a crop 100, 60, or 30 times what was sown. Whoever has ears, let them hear. In Matthew chapter 13, verses 19 through 23, Jesus tells us what the parable of the sower means. When anyone hears the message about the kingdom and does not understand it, the evil one comes and snatches away what was sown in their heart. This is the seed sown along the path. The seed falling on rocky ground refers to someone who hears the word and at once receives it with joy. But since they have no root, they last only a short time. When trouble or persecution comes because of the word, they quickly fall away. The seed falling among the thorns refers to someone who hears the word, but the worries of this life and the deceitfulness of wealth choke the word, making it unfruitful. But the seed falling on good soil refers to someone who hears the word and understands it. This is the one who produces a crop yielding 160 or 30 times what was sown. The parable of the weeds. Matthew chapter 13, verses 24 to 30. Jesus told them another parable. The kingdom of heaven is like a man who sowed good seed in his field. But while everyone was sleeping, his enemy came and sowed weeds among the wheat and went away. When the wheat sprouted and formed heads, then the weeds also appeared. The owner's servants came to him and said, Sir, didn't you sow good seed in your field? Where then did the weeds come from? An enemy did this, he replied. The servants asked him, Do you want us to go and pull them up? No, he answered, because while you are pulling up the weeds, you may uproot the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. At that time I will tell the harvesters, first collect the wheat and tie them in bundles to be burned, then gather the wheat and bring it into my barn. In Matthew chapter 13, verses 37 to 43, Jesus explains the parable of the weeds in the field to his disciples. The one who sowed the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world, and the good seed stands for the people of the kingdom. The weeds are the people of the evil one, and the enemy who sows them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the age, and the harvesters are angels. As the weeds are pulled up and burned in the fire, so it will be at the end of the age. The Son of Man will send out his angels, and they will weed out of his kingdom everything that causes sin and all who do evil. They will throw them into the blazing furnace where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Then the righteous will shine like the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Whoever has ears, let them hear. The parable of the mustard seed. Matthew chapter 13, verses 31 and 32. He told them another parable. The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed, which a man took and planted in his field. Though it is the smallest of all seeds, yet when it grows, it is the largest of garden plants and becomes a tree, so that the birds come and perch in its branches. Let's look at this last parable. Jesus likened the kingdom of heaven to not just a regular seed, but to a mustard seed, one of the smallest seeds of them all. The parable of the mustard seed is contained in all three of the synoptic gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke. According to gotquestions.org, and I quote, "In this parable, Jesus predicts the amazing growth of the kingdom of heaven. The mustard seed is quite small, but it grows into a large shrub, up to 10 feet in height. And Jesus says this is a picture of kingdom growth. The point of the parable of the mustard seed is that something big and blessed, the kingdom of God, had humble beginnings. How significant could the short ministry of Christ be? He had but a handful of followers. He was a man of no rank and without means, and he lived in what everyone considered a backwater region of the world. The life and death of Christ did not catch the world's attention any more than a mustard seed would lying on the ground by the road. But this was a work of God. What seemed inconsequential at first grew into a movement of worldwide influence, and no one could stop it. The influence of the kingdom in this world would be such that everyone associated with it would find a benefit, pictured as the birds perched on the branches of the mature mustard plant." End of quote. Even though it might be easy for us to get discouraged and disappointed with what goes on around us every day, keep in mind that God's kingdom is growing, God's kingdom is alive, and God's kingdom is forever. You might not see evidence of this, or it might be easily overlooked, just like that tiny mustard seed. But remember what Romans chapter 8, verse 28 tells us. "And we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to his purpose." Till next time, peace be with you.